Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel, the name of our channel, is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we're choosing, right? What I am discussing today is the importance of staying out of. There's a bubble flying across maybe there's a kid downstairs blowing bubbles or something. Going up to the sky. A giant bubble too. Interesting. That's interesting. I need to look it up. It might be an omen. Nonetheless, what I'm talking about today is the importance of staying out of toxic online spaces, right? I think sometimes that we forget the level of toxicity that can live in these little pockets online. And sometimes, especially through things like YouTube or like YouTube Shorts or like TikTok or whatever those little social medias that allow you to see videos and really quick hits. Instagram is like that too. Those type of places, it's so easy to get dragged into these little corners and areas of the internet where people are just extremely toxic. Whether it's toxicity related to politics, toxicity related to race and ethnicity, toxicity related to income disparages, toxicity related to genders is very big, toxicity related to even pointed at moms and dads or people that choose to be parents, right? And so what I found is sitting there thinking to myself, like, there's always space for people to share and express what they want out of life. For me, that's always an open space, right? I have a very short window for the amount of time that I spend complaining about something or going on about something that I'm sure I don't want. You know what I mean? So I find it interesting in these toxic places that the people are going on and on and on about the thing that they hate the most. And so what I realized is that there's no solution in these environments. Like, the solution is toxicity, if that makes sense, right? The solution is toxicity, and there's no getting around it. Anytime you have people that come to these broad idealizations of large swaths of people, they're not even logical. They're in some type of pain or trauma because it doesn't make sense. So you're sitting there listening, or me sometimes, because you get dragged in, and if the algorithm thinks you like that, it's going to show it to you again. It's like, I don't like it. Stop showing it to me. You literally got to click uninterested, not interested, right? Because what's the point of that? I remember thinking about this a few months ago when I was trying to balance my mindset as it related to sharing and venting information and then complaining about it, right? So for me, the vent is a one big occasion, right? So if I'm doing a vent, or if it's a vent or someone needs to vent, we got one big occasion for that thing, right? It could be a whole day. It might be a couple of hours. It's just a moment. And a moment could last for a little bit of time. But when that moment lasts for like every single time I come back in contact with you again, it's more conversation about something that you don't want, that you didn't like, that you hated happened to you. It's like, what are you going to grow from that? There's nothing that can be grown from that. And I think it's so interesting because in these toxic online spaces, a lot of times, and you might have fallen for this too, they pretend as if they want to have a conversation. And I would say, don't get sucked in, right? If you're on the same track as I am, and you're in the same energy that I am right now not taking nothing from anybody. And I'm not talking about being angry, yelling at people, putting them in their place. We're not doing none of that. Your place is non-existent if you come off and come to me the wrong way. And that's just a fact. So I'm in that era where I'm just not even. And it may change, it may soften at some point, but I'm just like, nah. If it's a tiny bit sideways, I go, nah, because I don't have time for that. I can tell authenticity. I can tell when people are being authentic with me. Even if they're a fake person, I can tell if they're being authentic with me. I can tell when they're coming from their heart. I trust my intuition. I've been polishing up this thing for a long time, and I'm sure you have too, with just making sure that you are discerning between your aggravation and your emotions as opposed to what you intuitively know is the right thing to do or intuitively know is the best choice for yourself, right? So we just have to make sure that we are not in those environments where we're tricking ourselves into thinking that people want to have a discussion, because half of the comments underneath those videos in those toxic places are people that's either heavy agreeing with it, which is kind of like, makes perfect sense because there's an environment for it. And then if there's like one person that's like, oh, well, maybe maybe we can look at this differently. You're going to get badgered. And so the point is, I see this all the time. What I would suggest for people when it comes to online toxic spaces, look at the type of comments that people are leaving. Look at the type of energy and attitudes, right? Because there's a couple of people that I started, I've been subscribed to lately. And mind you, I'm more of along the line of, women that think similar to the way that I do. That's kind of just in a higher level thinking and always thinking about how can I be the best version of myself? How can I add things to other people? How can I create value over here? How can I just enjoy my life, right? And at the same time, acknowledging the pain that's happened to me, acknowledging the hurt that's happened to me, acknowledging the negative relationships that I've been in, acknowledging the family of origin issues that I've dealt with, just acknowledging all those things. And so, but you have to know when you get into some environments, the people are not acknowledging anything. Everything is an outward blame. So whether it's a woman talking about, being a childless person, which I think is a great choice for anybody who wants to do it. But when you find out the reasoning behind it is because, well, men not going to stick around and help you raise kids. And I'm like, okay, well, then that's not always true. And that the last part about it is that it's one of those things where what you're doing is contingent upon the actions of other people way too much. If you're a woman and you want to experience motherhood in this life, you can experience motherhood in a plethora of ways. You can be a foster parent, you can adopt kids, you can have a surrogate, you can even have that thing by yourself and then raise it by yourself. Lots of people do it all the time. So what I mean is there's many ways to experience motherhood. But if you want to experience it in a specific way that's contingent upon another person, that's always going to be an issue because you can't control other people. So what you find is that most of these spaces, people are just wounded heavily. And because they're so wounded, they're very, very apt on putting a period where a comma should be. So like you have a sentence, like they put a period on the sentence. That's why I can't get with atheism. Because I'm like, you put in a period where a comma should be. Because you're not all knowing. So you really have no idea what's available and what is the creator and what you have no idea. Nobody's going to come back and told us. That's my belief system, right? We might think that some people know. We might think that because some books have carried through time that they mean more than other books. But if we do a little history on it, we'll know real quickly that that's just not the case. So what I'm saying is that you have to be able to get your mind in a space to where you're not always caught up on what other people are doing and then how that's going to affect you and what you're not going to do in your life as it relates to that, right? And so what I'm realizing is, and this is probably a little bit deeper than what I was thinking, is that there's nothing in those spaces. Don't go there, right? And I've even come to the place right now where I've gotten really strict on myself because I don't like some of the outcomes that I'm having in different places. I'm very skeptical of the type of energy around me. And I'm not skeptical in the way of you don't get to come around, no, everybody gets a chance. You get, access, hi, bye, whatever like that. But I pay close attention because I'm past the point of trying to be liked by everyone because I find that gets you absolutely nothing. It may get you a little promotion at a job, but hell, I can get the universe to command for me outside of the job. So I don't need a promotion in a job because that's not in charge of my life anyway, right? So like you can be in these spaces and you can start to try to play these games. Like I need to be liked. I need to be, and you're going to find yourself at the bottom of a barrel, right? And the thing about it is that I've never been a person that's like, oh, I need to be liked. But I've noticed in specific instances when I think that people are really far off from me, I'll start being a little bit more, nice or kind of like figuring out like, did I do something? Let me find out. I don't care if I did something anymore. For me, passive aggressiveness is non-existent, right? If I did something to walk over you or hurt your feelings or something like that, and that's the same way you should be approaching life. If somebody does something to walk over you or hurt your feelings or whatever, something like that, adults should tell other adults. You know what I mean? People should be able to say, hey, you know what? This frustrates me. I mean, I just recently did it after a business meeting. They ended the meeting early. They didn't say they were ending it early. And then when I looked up, everybody was going from Zoom, but apparently they couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear them. So whatever. And I was like, I'll be honest with you. That was a little frustrating. And I had a meeting with the same people today. As far as I can tell, no hard feelings, because you just have to be honest. I'm no longer living in a world where I'm sitting around pretending for other people who are too afraid of their own shadows. I don't have time for that. Either you know that you're a flawed human being or you don't. You know what I mean? If you understand that you're a flawed human being, we can have a conversation, and you're not going to be sitting there tiptoeing around me, and I'm not going to tiptoe around you, because we're not going to be sitting there thinking about judging each other harshly, right? We can just have a clean human conversation. And so my only hope is that when you see these spaces that you don't agree with, and it doesn't even have to be your agreement, because there are environments that don't agree with anything that I have going on, but I go there and have conversations, and I'll be like, well, there's another way to look at that. And the responses and the comments and the people's interactions are very different than environments where people are just low level, low vibration, and it's like, I want to be toxic and complain, and so this is my space, so get away if you don't want to be here. And so that's what you're going to run into a lot. Stay out of those spaces. They impact your mind way deeper than what you understand. All of those little quick hits all day of things that are talking about devaluing anything that's attached to you is also going to be negative. I've also gotten rid of certain energies, because I feel like when you have certain type of energies around you, that if you're trying to create something specific and they are the opposite of that energy, they're going to negatively impact your mindset and your ability to manifest. Because like I said before, I've been around people who have talked me into being into terrible relationships, terrible connections, because their mindset was so low level that they thought that, you know what, and I'm like, you can't even see where I'm at, because my purview is past that. So you're sometimes taking advice and taking information from people where your mindset and your way of seeing life has completely surpassed what they're doing. And so getting that energy off to the side, like, you can always bring energies back, but I always feel like bring them back when you've conquered that thing that you're trying to work on in that area, right? Like, when I was having a bunch of female friends around me and they all seemed to be envious and jealous and petty and insecure, I took a step back. And so I didn't block out having female friendships for my whole entire life. I removed that energy away from my space so I can cleanse my palette, and then allow people that are more fitting and are more of a compliment to where I am currently in my life, right? And so sometimes this happens with all types of people, and especially relationship stuff. If you're around people and you're trying to, or you're in the process of developing or creating or expanding or even looking for a relationship or trying to make one concrete or whatever, if you're hanging around people that see you as a low level, that see you as, not being valuable in any kind of way, that see you as some type of reject or something, even if they don't say it, but they have the mindset of seeing people who are like you that way, then being around them is going to mess up your energy. Because every time you're around them, you're going to be sucking up that negative energy related to how you are less than. So that's why I always think sometimes it's good to like hang in spaces to get a contrast and to see what other people are thinking and how they're maneuvering through the world and how they see the world. But then there's something else when it comes to just toxicity. And I can tell you, anything related to gender, whatever, right now, it's toxic, females and males. There's no in between for the most part. Politics, Democrat, Republican, toxic, nothing in between for the most part. I mean, whenever you do see something that's in between, it's a rare occasion. Most people see the world as black and white. There's a vast majority of people that are not thinkers. They are not trying to think. They're not trying to grow. They're not trying to expand. They're sitting and basking and loving and enjoying toxicity, and you have to leave them there. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.